a training exercise for BizMapper version 16. And we're going to take you through the whole process of creating a map. We're going to do an inbound A50 map from ANSI X12 A50 5010 to an XML output representing the same A50 purchase order. So if you're not familiar with the Biz Manager Suite, the Biz Manager Suite comes with MFT tools, the Manage File Transfer tools that allows you to do AS2, SFTP, API, so on and so forth. It also has a web UI interface that allow you to do configuration of trading partners, adding trading partners, and the configuration process and all that. And also has what is called the BizMapper, which is the transformation piece. For this training, we're going to focus completely on the transformation piece only. So I have it here on the desktop. As you can see, it says Mapper 16. 16 is the current version. 16.6, I believe, is the latest version at the time of this recording. Um, the one quick trick that I want to show you all that before you double click and run this, you must always run this as an administrator. If you don't run it as an administrator, you're going to run into issues. So one way that you could do it, you can right click and select run as administrator, or to skip that step and just double click, you go to the properties and then you go into compatibilities. And then in here, you click and run this program as administrator. You check on that, you hit apply, you hit OK, and then when you double click, it would always execute as administrator. And it will give you this message that we see in screen. We say yes. And then it pulls up the BizMapper. I apologize for my machine. It's a little bit slow. There it is. There we go. So here are your options. You can create a map, you open a map, you create a document definition, and you can open a document definition. So to begin with, let me open a map. I believe I should have some map here. Yeah, so let's open this A50 purchase order. So in the above in the tabs the tabs in the toolbar, you have the start, which is this first screen. Then you have the source, which is the source BDD, and BDD stands for Business Document Definition. Basically, is the skeleton of the document that you're going to be processing. In this case, it's an A50 purchase order, and it has the built-in ISA, GS, ST, and all the segments for the purchase order. Now, I did not create this. This comes from with the tool. You can download it from OpenText support in the section where you find the Biz Mapper or Biz Manager. You should be able to find these there's a couple of zip files that are basically the included into the software, and then you can import whatever transaction set you need. In this case, we're doing the A50 transaction set. I believe this is the 4010. Then you have the target, and the target in this case is a JSON document. And then you have the map, and here in the map is where you can go from A to B, moving data back and forth. And basically, it's a drag and drop situation, as such. And then test is to execute a test on the current map. You put the source file here and the target file name. Obviously, make sure that the name is not the same as the source. Otherwise, you would overwrite the source file. So if the source file is PO123, you can name the target file as PO123.json, just so you make a difference which one is the source and which one is the target. The document viewer would allow you to load the file. When you load the source and the target here, you can do document viewer and then do the parse, and it'll break down the file in a tree format so you can see. Batch tests, I'm not going to cover this because it's a little bit advanced, and honestly, I never really use it, but it's just to execute a test with a batch set of files so you can run through and see how it behaves when you have multiple file processing. Never really used it. I only do one-to-one, one input, one output. And the finish, if you need to promote the map into the server, into the web UI that we were talking about. This is out of the scope of this training. So I'm just going to be talking mainly in the source, target, and the map, the testing, and the doc viewer. Just I'll show you the doc viewer once so you can see what it looks like. So you in the map, you always have the source on the right, and sorry, the source on the left and the target on the right. Always, this is your source, this is your target. So to start a map, you need to have the BDD, the business document definition. In this case, obviously this exists, but I'm going to show you how to create an XML BDD from scratch. So you have an XML file, and then you want to know how am I going to create that output, that BDD, and then you could create it manually one step at a time, or you can do it a little bit faster, and I'll show you that. Okay, so let's get out of here. I'm going to close this map. I'm not going to save it. No, I don't want to save it. I'm going to go File. Actually, here in the start, you see this says Create a Map, Open a Map, Create a Document Definition. So before we create a document definition, we can do it like this: create a document definition. You can import a data from a data source to build a new document definition, or you can create a new document definition and then you click next. If you do it this way, it'll ask you for a file format. You can select database, edifact, flat file, fix, flat file variable, JSON, NACHA, NACHA, which is well, I'm not going to cover that. And here's X12 and here's XML. So if I select XML, I go next, then it start with the document, and then I can just right click and hit add a new element sibling, a new element child, and so on and so forth. We're not going to do it like this because this would take forever, but I wanted to show you how this can be done. So I'm going to do file close. No, I don't want to save it. So to start with, I need to show you what an XML file looks like, and the one that we're going to use. This is a sample A50 purchase order output, which is going to be an XML, and I just call it sample A50 PO123.xml, and it has data related to a certain trading partner ordering certain items. Okay, and it's just one purchase order with multiple items, and that's it. So I need to take this and convert it into an XSD. An XSD stands for XML schema, and the schema basically is the layout of the file. To do that, the fastest way that I know how, and that it works pretty good, is to do it using Visual Studio. And here is the same XML. So basically, I went to the location of this folder and I right click on it and I select the open with, and I open with Microsoft Visual Studio 2022. Now, I just installed Microsoft Visual Studio 2022. Um, I am not an expert on Microsoft Visual Studio, but I do know you need to make sure that you install the right, when you're doing the installation, you need to install the right components that will contain the XML. Usually I install the .NET components, the ASP.NET components, and the Azure and I don't think I install anything else. Try to keep it bare bones. But my point is, if you don't see this XML, you may need to install additional components. That's beyond this video, but just just to let you know, because sometimes I have installed it and I'm missing it and I don't know why. It's because you're missing a component that some of the extensions or whatever they call it. So that's why you don't have it if you don't have it. So I opened the XML. So let me show you how I did it. Basically, I mean, like I said it, right? So I have this XML file and I open it and that's it. Simple as that. Then I go XML and I say create schema. That runs and here it is. It's as simple as that. Now you have a schema based based on the XML that we had open. Now, one thing I do is I change all these data types: unsigned short, unsigned int, unsigned byte, all these data types to string. The reason for that is because BizMapper may have issues with the data when you are mapping the data. It may say, well, that's not a, oops, sorry. It may say that's not a, hold on 1 second. Okay. That is not an integer or that is not a byte or that it just started giving me a lot of issues. So what I do, I go here and I find, and then I do, what is it I do? Right here. No, here. Yes, replace. And then basically I do a final replace with string. And then I do um, replace all. Okay. Then I find the unsigned int and do the same thing. Replace all. Unsigned byte. Do the same thing. Replace all. Let me see. I gotta go through all the data types, make sure I capture everything. Okay, this is decimal, unsigned long. Replace all. The decimal, gonna do the same thing. And that's it. So now after everything is called string, okay, I close this, and then I'm gonna save it, file, save as, and I'm gonna leave it the same name. So I have it here, I think, save, yes, XSD. So that would give me the XML schema. I won't need this anymore. I'm gonna close it. Uh, don't save, I already saved it. Okay, so then now I'm gonna say create a document definition, right? And I'm gonna import from a data source to build a new document. I hit next, and I'm gonna select XML schema. I go browse, do EDI data, samples, and I have it here on the sample A50, and here's my schema. I do open, so I'll make sure that the file name is the one, XML schema, yes, next. And then it brings this XML schema wizard. I say next, show all elements. So this is the EDI envelope, that's fine. say next. Okay, so I click. uh, okay, I don't need to click there. So as you can see, so I'm selecting everything. I'm not gonna change it because I want everything. But if you didn't want something, you can obviously uncheck it. Okay, then I do next. Okay, no unsupported type. Okay, so here, if you have a data type that is not string, I don't know how it does with the dates. I don't know. I have run into so many issues, so I just decided to make everything string, and I never get into any issues when I'm importing it. So if you get an issue here saying that this data type is unsupported, it's because you forgot to change one of the data types. So go back and change the data type, and then you'll be fine. Then hit finish, and here it is. So just for your information, if you need to change something, like let's say I need to change that data type, you can always come here and you can, do we right click? Yes, and then change type right here. And then you can select decimal, date, or whatever. But now that you change it here, it'll do it in a smart way that the program would know what to do with it rather than not knowing what to do if it says an XML date or XML integer or in XML whatever. So here you can do these changes. Okay. All right, we're gonna pause right here and we'll be back with the rest of the information.